If you want to know how to lose weight, and if you want to know how many calories you need to lose weight, then this video is going to explain all of that to you. Before we get started, I want to say two things. First of all, the one thing that you really need to lose weight is to be in a caloric deficit. Everything else is really just about figuring out how to do that in a sustainable way and it being tolerable enough for you to do for a long enough period of time to see results. It's obviously about health as well, but really losing weight is about calories. It's about energy. It's all about energy balance. And the second thing I want to say is that this will vary from person to person. So I've just used some numbers here that are pretty general and pretty easy to calculate with, but this is going to vary from person to person. And we'll talk about that more later, but I want to start by saying that. So there are a few steps in this process. And the first one that most people just skip completely is finding out what your maintenance calories are. How many calories you need a day to just stay the same weight. This is a really important step, and most people just skip it completely, but it's really important because it gives you a concept of like what most people are just in this all or nothing place of like, either I'm on this crazy crash diet or I'm just eating everything. And it's really important for you to understand that there's something in the middle there as well. There's a certain number of calories that is probably higher than you think it is, that if you just eat that way, you're not going to gain weight, you're not going to lose weight, you're going to stay pretty much the same weight. This is the number from which we calculate our deficit, and it's going to be clearer later on why it's important to start with that number. So it's all about calories in versus calories out, right? Calories in is really simple. It's just the food that you eat. Whereas calories out is a little bit more complicated because there are a few different ways that we burn calories. The first one is BMR, or basal metabolic rate. This is the number of calories that you would burn in 24 hours if you just laid in bed, did nothing, didn't eat anything, didn't drink anything, didn't move at all. This is just the number of calories that you need to just keep your body alive, to just keep your brain working, to keep your heart pumping, to keep all of your tissues from just dying, just basic metabolic functions that are just keeping you alive. And for most women, that's around 1,300 calories a day. And it's important to know that because some diets suggest that you eat fewer than that number, but you'll also be moving around and doing other things and maybe even exercising. So if you do a 1,200 calorie diet, you're not even eating enough calories to just exist, let alone do all the things that you're doing every day. And it's also really important to understand that we think that exercise burns loads and loads of calories, but actually your basic metabolic rate is like 1,300 calories. And that accounts for the vast majority of your calories every day. The second way that you burn calories is through something called TEF, or the thermal effect of food. This is the calories that you burn through digestion. So you put food into your body, but we actually use calories to burn that food and to break it all down. Digestion is an active process. So when you eat, you do actually burn some of those calories through digestion. The third way is something called NEAT. This is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It basically means the everyday movement that you do that is not organized exercise. You know, just getting up out of bed, brushing your teeth, getting breakfast ready, me using my hands like this. And if you walk to work, then that will also be NEAT. Getting in and out of the car. And this is also a number that varies hugely from person to person because you get really fidgety people who use their body a lot, like me, and you get people who don't do that. And then you also have people who have really active jobs. So if you're a trainer or you're a nurse or a doctor, if you're someone who's on their feet moving around all day, every day, you're going to burn way more calories than somebody like a programmer who's just sitting down at a computer all day. So NEAT can vary hugely from person to person. But if we were to just throw out a random number, let's say like around 300 calories a day, 400 calories a day for like non-exercise calories. Finally, you have something called EAT. which is exercise activity thermogenesis, or I think that's what it stands for. But basically it's the calories that you burn through doing organized exercise. So when you go to the gym or when you go for a run, these are obviously calories burnt through exercise. Obviously this can vary hugely as well, because it depends on the intensity of the exercise that you're doing, the frequency, so how many times a week you exercise, how long you exercise for, and it will also depend on your own physical attributes, like whether you're male or female, how young you are, how much muscle mass you have, all kinds of things like that. But let's take just kind of an average number. Let's say just for a woman who weighs like 65 kilos, 70 kilos like me, who's average height, who works out 3 times a week for an hour, fairly intensely, and so burns 500 calories a week. That's 1,500 calories. So 3 times a week, that's 1,500 calories per week. Okay, 3 times 500 is 1,500. So if we divide this into 7 days, because we want to get the average of each day, this comes down to like 200 calories a day, which doesn't really sound like much when you put it that way. But it's important to think of it in terms of your average calories over the week, rather than the day that you work out, I burned another 500 calories, and hopefully you'll see why later on. So let's take these numbers, these very, very arbitrary numbers. They're not that arbitrary, they're quite average numbers, but again, like, please appreciate how much this can differ from person to person. If I have 1,300 calorie BMR, basic metabolic rate, plus 200 calories for digestion, which I didn't say before, and again, this is just a number I'm just throwing out there, 400 calories for NEAT, and another 200 calories per day on average for exercise, this adds up to 2,000 calories. I hope I've got the maths right there. 2,000 calories is a pretty average number for a pretty average woman. This will differ a lot if you're taller, shorter, if you've got more muscle mass, if you're fatter, thinner, if you're fidgety, if you're not. Please remember, this is me trying to find a kind of average, and 2,000 is also a really easy number to work with. So this is going to differ from person to person. But let's just take this 2,000 calorie total, okay? This is 2,000 calories is the number of calories that you need to maintain your weight. So if over a period of time, over a month, a year, you eat 2,000 calories every day and you burn 2,000 calories every day, you're going to stay the same weight. Okay, and that's more than most women think that they need. If I eat fewer calories than 2,000, I'm going to lose weight. And if I eat more than 2,000 calories, I'm going to put on weight. Again, if I eat 1,200 calories a day, 2,200 calories a day, I'm going to put on weight way more slowly than if I was to eat 5,000 calories a day. That's obvious, right? So the same is true the other way around. If I am in a deficit, so every calorie under 2,000 calories is putting me into a deficit. If I'm in a 100 calorie deficit, I'm going to lose weight more slowly than if I'm in a 1,000 calorie deficit, in theory, right? If I actually manage to stick to the 1,000 calorie deficit. Let's move on to step number 3, and that's getting you into a moderate calorie deficit and how to calculate that moderate calorie deficit. So as I said before, every calorie below 2,000 is going to get you into a deficit. So the kind of average number that's thrown around is the kind of standard classic number is a 500 calorie deficit. Where does this number come from? Did someone just pull it out of their ass? A little bit, yeah, but 500 calories a day adds up to 3,500 calories a week, right? 7 times 500 is 3,500. 3,500 calories is the number of calories that is in 1 pound of fat, which is like half a kilo of fat. Okay, so that's the rationale behind the 500 calorie deficit, is that it equates to, if you are actually in a 500 calorie deficit, then you will lose half a kilo or 1 pound of fat per week. Lost my train of thought. The other reason that it's kind of the classic number is because it's an easy number to remember and an easy number to work with. It's a nice round number and blah, blah, blah. The third reason why it's the number that is used is because it's a fairly moderate deficit. It's a fairly manageable deficit for most people. So most people, when they're in a 500 calorie deficit, it's not easy to do. It takes effort, it takes focus and concentration and perseverance with measuring stuff and counting calories. But for most people, it is a manageable deficit. And by manageable, I mean that it won't make you feel ridiculously hungry and it won't seriously affect your energy levels. So it is manageable for most people. That does depend on the person. Some people deal with hunger better than others, and some people don't feel the hunger, and other people really, really struggle getting into a deficit and staying in a deficit. So again, this differs from person to person. So what a lot of people think at this point is, okay, if I can lose a pound a week with a 500 calorie deficit, why don't I do 1,000 calorie deficit? And then I'll lose even more weight and I'll lose weight even faster. So in theory, this is true. If you do actually stick to 1,000 calorie deficit, you will lose weight faster. But 1,000 calorie deficit really sucks. It really, really, really sucks. It's really hard to maintain. Your body gets really tired and really lethargic. It makes you stop moving around so that you burn fewer calories. It makes you moody and grumpy, and it makes you feel more hungry to drive you to get food. So the 1,000 calorie deficit kind of backfires. That's why I emphasize the word moderate. You need to be in a moderate deficit. And the reason why it needs to be moderate is that it needs to be tolerable. It needs to be something that you can do and you can stick to for a long enough period of time to see results, because it doesn't matter how good your diet is or how big a deficit you can create. Doing it for 1 week is not enough. You have to be able to do this for a long enough period of time to see results. So you have to create a moderate deficit, one that you can tolerate and one that doesn't make you feel hungry and grumpy and like a bag of shit. So how do you create a calorie deficit? The best way of creating a calorie deficit is having a kind of multi-directional approach. The most obvious one is reducing food intake. But if you reduce your food intake too much, like I said in the last point, it's going to kind of backfire. If you can just reduce your calorie intake by a bit, then that might be better for the long term than just cutting out tons and tons and tons of food. And then the other ways that you can create a deficit is by increasing the calorie out stuff. So all the stuff that we talked about before. So for example, I can increase NEAT by just moving around more, and that's where, they say about doing the 10,000 steps a day and walking upstairs and things like that. Just being more active, just getting up and down more often. I can increase EAT, so increase the exercise, just an extra workout a week, or if you're not working out, start working out. Obviously there's an upper limit to this, and if you do too much, you're going to burn out. But you want to do as much as you can tolerably do in terms of how you feel and what you enjoy and what you have time to do. The third way that you can increase calories out is through the thermic effect of food. So if you eat food that costs more to digest, then you will burn a little bit more every day. So eating more protein, most women don't eat enough protein anyway, and by increasing fiber intake and by eating more whole nutritious foods rather than the highly processed stuff that's really easy for us to digest. Again, this isn't going to increase your metabolic rate by 1,000 calories a day. It may just be 100 calories or 50 calories a day. But when you add an extra 100 calories, 50 calories a day from each of these areas, it adds up and it creates more and more of a deficit. Finally, you can actually increase your basal metabolic rate The most obvious way of doing that is by building more muscle. So if you do strength training, if you lift weights, you're going to build more muscle, and muscle is an expensive tissue, so our metabolisms are going to go up. Again, it's not going to be by a huge amount, but it is going to contribute. And the other ways that you can improve your metabolism is by reducing stress and making sure that you're sleeping enough. But also, if you've been chronically dieting for a really, really, really long time, you might want to consider doing reverse dieting and just trying to be in maintenance calories for a little while to kind of raise your metabolic rate, and then you can go back to trying to lose weight again. So another question that I get asked a lot is, what happens if I eat too many calories in one day? You know, I've eaten all week 1,500 calories, and then at the weekend I suddenly eat 2,500 calories. So loads of women and men stress out about this so much, and weekend eating is a really big problem, and it can definitely derail your progress. But what you need to keep in mind is the bigger picture. So if you eat 2,000 calories, if you need 2,000 calories a day to maintain your weight, that's 14,000 calories over the week, right? So over the week, you need to consume fewer than 14,000 calories. And remember that 3,500 calories, which would be 10,500 calories, would give you half a kilogram of weight loss a week, right? But if you're eating 12,000 calories a week rather than the 14 that you need to maintain your weight, you're still going to lose weight. It just may not be as fast as you would like, but then as fast as you would like may not be manageable. So it's all about weighing up the pros and cons. So what I want to say here is that if you do 1,500 calories a day, 1,500 calories a day every day throughout the week, and then at the weekend you eat 2,000 calories a day, you will still lose weight. Even if you eat 2,500 calories a day, you'll probably still lose weight. It doesn't matter. It's just going to reduce your caloric deficit over the week. So try not to stress too much about it. In fact, it may be a really good strategy for your longevity in dieting to actually purposely do this. So if you diet 1,500 calories throughout the week, and then you decide, okay, at the weekend I find it impossible to be in a caloric deficit, I'm going to give myself an extra little bit of wiggle room, I'm going to eat maintenance calories, or maybe even a little bit more than maintenance calories, because I just can't stick to I just need a little bit more room for alcohol, or for, you know, just, I don't know, a bit of cheese or whatever, a bit of dessert. This might be a really good strategy. It might slow down your progress, but it will do two things. One, it will make you feel sane, and you aren't constantly dieting. So you get to have kind of a little break from dieting once a week. But secondly, it might actually be good for your metabolism, because when you're constantly in low calories and in a caloric deficit, it will affect your metabolic rate a little bit. So adding a few more calories each week will kind of boost your metabolic rate, and then you can and then you kind of go back into the new week fresh. So when it does matter is when you eat like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories on those 2 off days or the weekend. There is an upper limit to how much you can push this. So and it can completely derail all of the progress that you made during the week. So this was kind of a long section, but the big message here is that a really good strategy can be to not actually diet at the weekend and just be in maintenance calories, because it will help you stay on track for longer. But if you take this too far, you could potentially push it over those 14,000 calories that you need a week to just maintain your weight, and then you might actually put on weight even though you've been dieting well all week. So you can eat more a couple of days a week, but you've got to be careful that here we don't want to get stuck in the in for a penny, in for a pound syndrome. If you eat a little bit more, it's not a big deal, but if you eat a lot more, you can really mess everything up. So finally, I think this is point number 7. All of these numbers are really just an estimate, and it's based on kind of an average woman, but it is going to be different from person to person. You need to start with a number and then adjust. It's really important to adjust based on the progress you're making. So if you're starving hungry with the number of calories, let's say we've decided 1,500 calories is what we're going to start with. If you're starving hungry, you need to up your calories by 100 calories, 200 calories, maybe 300 calories. And if you're not losing weight, 2-3 weeks you haven't budged at all and you're not hungry, you might need to reduce your calories a little bit. And just something from my own experience, I was counting calories for a while with Avatar Nutrition. Really great, worth checking it out if you're interested in someone that can help you along the way. They actually they put me on 1,500 calories, and I was starving hungry. I was getting up in the middle of the night to eat. And I told them this, and they upped my calories to 2,000 calories. And I was losing weight pretty consistently on around 2,000 calories a day. So actually, that tells me that my basic metabolic rate is, my maintenance calories is over 2,000 calories. And that's why I needed 2,000 to lose weight. This isn't going to be the case for everyone. And I assume that it's to do with the sort of 5 years of strength training that I have behind me. And I probably am more muscular than the average woman, but it's just an example of how this is just a starting point and you have to adjust as you go along. One final thing is there are some really great calculators that you can use online. If It Fits Your Macros has a great calculator. James Smith Academy, haven't used his calculator, but I assume it's a really good one. MyFitnessPal just has a really decent calculator that you can plug these numbers into, and it will give you a pretty good starting point. So I'll link those things up in the comments below. So just to kind of summarize all this video, 1, you need to be in a moderate caloric deficit that you can tolerate. 2, you need to be in the deficit for long enough to actually see results. 3, think about the weekly deficit. Think about the bigger picture. Try not to get too caught up on what's happening from a day-to-day standpoint. 4, eat more nutrient-dense food, more protein, more fiber. 5, do a bit more exercise, move around a bit more, do strength training because it will help you build muscle and it's way more effective than doing cardio. And finally, make sure that you're eating some of the things that you enjoy. Otherwise, you're going to go mad and you're not going to be able to stick to this for the long haul. So if you're still with me, thank you. I know this was a really, really long one, but I get asked this question all the time. So I really wanted to put all this information in one video so that I can give it to people and that there's a resource for people to go to really dig into how many calories they need. If you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please write it in the comments below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. Any questions, any queries about this or any other area of fat loss, exercise, postpartum stuff, just let me know and I'll make some more videos based on what people request and the questions that I get asked. So thanks for watching.